So what I was trying to understand is one, the conditions of these migrant women workers who are Zimbabwe. You know, Zimbabwe is our neighbor. I mean, I'm from South Africa. So these women tend to travel from Zimbabwe to South Africa, and they end up being in Johannesburg. And then the purpose of their traveling, is to look for jobs in Johannesburg. So they undertake this extremely dangerous journey from Zimbabwe to South Africa, and I'm going to talk about that, right? And this article, which I'm going to be presenting, is actually based on in-depth interviews we conducted with these women who are migrants, right? And some kind of a framework that I tried to develop was based at an understanding that, look, they are precarious workers, right? But within that precarity, there is, a resistance. So I actually used this, duality. That is one, precariousness, and two, the resistance. So you can already see that there are contradictory processes, because I also thought that, look, I should also affirm their social agency as women, as workers, and also as people belonging to the working class, population living within the South African borders, right? Now, I just want to discuss some conceptual issues, right? There is this, concept that I use, and I have to say I use it cautiously, because it's a contested, concept about precarious work, right? And then I also use critically the work of guys standing who also who came up with this concept of precarity and the precariousness. But he's not the original source. There are others who have also discussed it. Now, when it comes to defining precarious work, it's that type of work that has to be understood in relation to instability, lack of protection, insecurity, and social and economic vulnerability. Right? Now, the context is important here, because whilst Standing discusses this as if it's a new concept, or as if it's a new phenomenon within the global South, this has been there for many years, and many workers in the global South, like for instance, Southern Asia and the Sub-Saharan Africa have always experienced precariousness as a permanent condition, right? And then some of the studies of the ILO indicate that in the global south, about 50% of the workforce can be characterized as the precarious workers, both in the informal economy as well as the formal economy. And of course, many authors from the south, like for instance, most workers have argued that this is a very new thing in the south, but also even in the global north, precarity has always existed, even within the context of a welfare system, right? For an example, we can talk about migrant workers from Turkey in Germany. So they've been experiencing the condition of being precarious workers for many years. Right? Another issue which is also conceptual and theoretical, it's about what they call the push and the pull factors, right? It is estimated that there are 2 to 3 million Zimbabwean living in the diaspora and working there, right? And about a third of that is in South Africa, right? Now, these are just estimate because many of these workers are not documented, right? Yeah, so that's another point. So the main argument that I am developing here is that these workers, which is part of the push and the pull factors, come to South Africa, precisely because of the economic, political and social, difficulties in Zimbabwe, and we all know about that. The collapse of the Zimbabwean economy. But also, there are also other, bigger pressures here, because South Africa is a dominant economic, power within the region, and what has happened is that the companies, belonging to South Africa have also invested in these countries, right? And like for instance, supermarket chain stores like ShopRite, are in Mozambique and Zambia, and in that way we can already see that there's a transfer of capital and also a transfer of values from these countries, going into South Africa, right? So there is that movement of money, into South Africa. I mean, we can talk about that. If for an example, South African companies are investing in Nigeria's telecommunications industry. So there's that a movement of capital to South Africa. Another issue that I am grappling with is also the feminization of work and the migration. Right now, South Africa here is a country largely defined by migrant labor. We, you know, I mean, from the very early phases of capitalism, the South African story of industrialization is dominated by migrant work. Even its architecture, the buildings, and so. So with the discovery of gold, we saw an increase in migration within the South African, Southern Africa region. That is now Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and the other countries. So workers from those countries who came to South Africa in search of jobs, and they were employed as mine workers. So in other words, when you conceptualize the South African working class, there's a very strong element of internal and external migrants, right? But what then happened with the process of industrialization, the phase of migration, which was dominated by men who would leave their families in rural areas, right? Faced a decline as these men were being retrenched, as the factories were actually being closed down, right? Now another phase which I think is emerging, which has a lot to do with the feminization of migration and the work, is that we're seeing women now being migrant workers, right? And they are also becoming breadwinners. So in other words, they are responsible for maintaining their families and financially. I mean, even in the past, they were maintaining families, but it was largely through unpaid domestic work, and as men were employed in major cities like Johannesburg, right? But now it's women who are beginning to move and look for work, and that really poses many challenges, right? So I've made this point, but now what is happening is that with this migration, these women are now occupying what can be regarded as precarious forms of employment. They work as domestic workers, healthcare workers, services workers, and then they also earn low wages with little or no benefits, right? So, but I'm arguing that okay, yes, we need to understand their conditions, which can be defined as being precarious. But I'm also saying that look, They are also social agents capable of manufacturing and developing their own resistance without any assistance by formalized structures like your trade unions and also social movements. Then I looked at this concept of precarious resistance as developed by Levuch and Dazinga. So they are helping that look, precarious resistance tends to be individualized. It's under the radar. It's informal. It's within the workplace, and all that is actually similar to what Cohen and Van Onselen would define as hidden forms of resistance, right? But my argument is that look, this hidden form of resistance is not only in the workplace, but it's also located outside the workplace. So that is why I then discussed the journey they undertake as they move from Zimbabwe to the borders of South Africa and then you come to Johannesburg. So it's that journey also has an element of precarious resistance. It's also precarious because it's not in a way collective or maybe organized by a trade union or maybe by some progressive social movement. It's the individuals who are trying to deal with their situation. Now the research methodology, this is based on in-depth interviews which were conducted with these women, right? I just want to talk about my findings, right? So, look, as I've said, the main thing is that a man have been retrenched, right? So these women took it upon themselves to go to Joburg to look for work, and also they've got family responsibility. They've got children, and of course, as I indicated, the economy in Zimbabwe has actually collapsed. So they don't have other options in order to survive. So that is why they have to go to Johannesburg, right? The journey is riddled with many difficulties, right? And this requires a lot of resilience. There are also elements of individualized forms of resistance, and there is violence. But there are also as successes, right? And then yes, they are generalized, problems. Like for instance, rape. They have to use their little money to bribe authorities. There is extortion. There is no accommodation. There are always delays in terms of processing their documents, and And then so therefore they employ what others might see as illegal, you know, strategies to get into South Africa. As I've said, you know, rape is a serious issue, right? Because you must remember that they're traveling, you know, in territories that are unsafe. The criminal elements, you know, they are thugs, and you know, so it's a dangerous terrain, right? But you know, despite all these you know challenges, atrocities, they continue to go to Joburg, and it has to do with the fact that they're facing economic difficulties. But when they are in Joburg, they're likely to at least you know get a job, right? But also what I'm discussing is that you know they use different strategies during their journey. Right? One is to ask males who are friends, who are family members to accompany them. They get smuggled. They use bribery. They use alternative routes in order to avoid border police and soldiers. So they are very creative, right? As I say, these are all the weapons they use to deal with their difficulties. So when they're in Joburg, right, they face other difficulties. One, I'm just going to summarize, is that they have to deal with the police because they are regarded as illegal migrants, right? They've got no documentation, and again they've got their social networks. They use bribes. They try to avoid certain areas that are police infested, right? And then there's this testimony that you are scared of the police. I didn't have money to bribe the police who are looking for documents from migrants. It was hard for me to go out and look for a job. I stayed indoors. Now then, in that kind of a situation, they would ask their networks to assist them to find a job. So they'll stay indoors, and then once they've been told that look, there's a job as a cashier at Pick n Pay, they will then go there. Because if you just go out without having some money for a bribe, you're likely to be deported. And then again, they work for long hours, and the pay is low, and there are no benefits, right? But I think there are also other positive developments, and I'm arguing that the labor laws, trump immigration laws, because there's been cases where the migrant women would go to the authorities and they complain about unfair labor practice, and then they will not be asked about documentation, and there's a court case which is started here. This worker won it, and the argument is that the labor laws tend to be relatively speaking progressive. Now, another point for these migrant workers is that even within the workplace, they face other challenges, like, for instance, xenophobia, discrimination, and when they complain about the working conditions, they are told that, look, you're going to be deported if you're not careful. So therefore, they have to navigate this very complex terrain. And one of the strategies they use is to know how to do the job, and also how to do it properly, right? So they learn, so they work hard, right? Okay, we can all argue that, look, but that's super exploitation. Why do you consider that as being important? But for these workers, in order to prolong their stay, they've got to do the job, right? Okay, I talked about learning. So I just want to conclude by saying that what I'm trying to do is that, look, we know about these difficult conditions, but now we need to look at how are they responding. And my argument is that they are marshalling strategies which can be regarded as the precarious resistance. And I think this also has to do with the fact that the labor movement has not really taken up seriously the question of organizing migrant workers, right? But they've not been able to reach out to the workers. I highly interviewed, because we asked them about the unions. They said, no, we've never interacted with the unions. And then we asked them, would you like to join a union? They said, yes, we want to be part of a union. But the problem is that the South African workers tend to be xenophobic, and they see them as competition, right? So that issue of working class solidarity within the South African borders, is actually crucial. If we are to look at how we actually build collective resistance which transcends nationalities and also transcends borders, right? So I thought I must just show some of the pictures. You can see there it's a woman. She's trying to get into South Africa. You see the border fencing is an obstacle. So she has to resist and deal with it. And another woman here, right? She's crawling, and then again here it's the soldiers, and So towards the end, I said, look, again here for me resistance is crucial, right? And as this famous quote from except that those who do not move, do not notice their change. So for me, resistance is crucial, right? And then two, I think it's about you need to build solidarity within the South African borders as well as global, that injustice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere, right? I'm just going to end with those positive words. Yeah. Okay, thanks.